Hi everyone. So I just got out of a really powerful session, and um, there's something that has been coming up a lot in myself and in others, and I thought it would be helpful to share with you all. And really, it's around the idea of how can we be our primary caretakers for ourselves. And that we as humans deeply need one another. We need connection. It's at the core of who we are. It's at the core of our survival. We have many underlying drives to us, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, to be connected. And so I wanted to talk about how we can be our primary caretakers while also inviting and allowing others to care for us as well, but for them to be our secondary caretakers. And sometimes or oftentimes we might hear of ways of, and I know this is something that I focus a lot in my work, is ways of how we can love ourselves, care for ourselves, build self-love, self-resiliency, self-worth. But also, how do we bring that into relationship, into connection with others? And one of the books I shared recently in my stories, which I have been recommending to literally everyone around me lately, is a book by Richard Schwartz, who's the creator of internal family systems, which is what my work's based in. And I'll put a little connection to this title or this book in the description of the video, but it's called You Are the One You've Been Waiting For. And it's written about this concept around how do we be our primary caretakers so that we can show up and be there for ourselves, but also when we provide that primary caretaking to ourselves, we can then care for others more from a place of clarity, of self-leadership, as it's called in internal family systems. Really, it's from this more innate whole part of who we are, this more soul essence or spiritual essence of who we are. How can we then lead from that place, how can we show up that way into the world and with others? And really, it's created from this this primary relationship with ourselves. And then we can also receive others better when we're in that place, and also importantly when when others are in their place of self-leading or showing up as their more core self, when they're also caring for themselves. But what's beautiful about the primary caretaking is that, as we know, is that we can't always show up perfectly in that state. We might be triggered. We might have a lot of other parts that are up in certain moments. And so what's beautiful about this concept of primary caretaking and nurturing, self-nurturing, is that if one person can show up initially from that self place, from that core place, it invites others to join them there too. When you have this energy about you, it creates safety, it creates presence, and others will naturally feel more seen, more safe, because you're able to see them, you're able to be there. And so often in relationship or partnership or connection, of any type with others, that there's self-to-self connection, there's oneself to maybe other connection. There's different ways of describing it. In the book, he really goes into detail about what that looks like, how to bring that about. So I highly recommend that book. But just to kind of talk about this concept of importance, deep importance of becoming that primary caretaker. And it's not about shutting away the world and not being in relationship, not being connected. And it's also not about needing everything from others and always needing everything to be met externally. So it's really about finding that harmony, that balance that we as humans are, I feel, here to find, is really how do we find this kind of homeostasis or balance within all things as energy beings in the human body, as someone with emotions and a mind, as someone who experiences past, present, and future, all these different places and parts, that really it's about finding that middle path, always navigating and looking and bringing about this middle way. And so this idea of primary caretaking really touches on that. And so what does that look like, really? And briefly, I'll just describe that there's different layers of the parts of us. And that, as I've mentioned, at the foundational level, there is this kind of essence of who we are, that we're born with, that we have, that's timeless. If you believe in many lifetimes, it's the same kind of essence that continues in multiple lifetimes, multiple timelines. It's this part that's unbreakable. It's always whole. It's always complete. It's resilient. It's deeply wise. It knows you better than anything or anyone else. And so from that foundation, then there tends to be kind of a layering of parts that is talked about in internal family systems. One is this these feelings, or maybe inner childlike parts, or deeper feelings, or needs that often get exiled or hidden away, tucked away when growing up, that if a need wasn't met or couldn't be met, maybe it was not welcome, that we or our caretakers or those around us create this this exiling of this part, and we tuck it away, and it gets frozen in time, and it's felt like and perceived often as an inner child because it's frozen in time. It's this part that is very old, typically. And so then on top of that, once that part gets tucked away neatly somewhere, then there's this other kind of gatekeeper part that is born at that time, that's there to keep it tucked away. Its job is to keep you from feeling that feeling, because we received the message or we had the experience of that's not safe for whatever reason to have that feeling. Excuse me. So we tuck it away, and then this gatekeeper comes online, and they act like a protector, and it does everything in its power to keep us from feeling that feeling. And so some examples of this might be judgment, like a judgmental, critical part, either towards yourself or towards others, that rather than feeling the hurt of something that you didn't experience from yourself or from others, that it's safer to have judgment and blame and criticism towards others, rather than feeling that lack or that deep hurt of not getting that need met, or that feeling being felt or seen or recognized or validated. So these protector roles come online. Then, if those protective roles for any reason can't do their job, then there's these other parts that come in that are called firefighters. And they come in really to just put out the fire. They're urgent parts. They are very powerful parts. Typically, if you have, if there's folks with addiction history, those parts, those addicted parts tend to be the firefighters. They do things to distract and to cope and to soothe in a variety of ways, some more extreme than others. And so another firefighter might be extreme fatigue, something that just shuts us down, that maybe there's a kind of anxious part or mental override type part that's just going in round and around in circles. And so there's this firefighter that comes in and just knocks us out, helps try to put that fire down. And so really when we look at how do we take care of ourselves as our own caretakers, it's getting to know all of those layers. And that getting permission, primarily, if there is a firefighter, getting that permission, befriending that, getting its respect, caring for it, seeing it, validating it, understanding it, and then it's working down to the next layer, all the way down into where you've created enough room and space to where you can more directly access those exiled parts of you, those feelings. And then we can unburden, we can heal and evolve those inner children into adults. And they have so much knowledge, resource, wisdom that has been hidden away within them, that even though there are these childlike parts, they carry so much energy and essence that we feel their loss when we don't have their connection. And so it's a really beautiful experience to have that unburdening process. And so there's ways to do this on your own. And the book I mentioned is a beautiful example. He gives step-by-step process. He outlines it very clearly. It's written both for practitioners of the model and anyone else. But also there come many times when you need a practitioner to help you really be able to see and track and gain that permission and gain that access step by step to help you peel back those layers. And so that's when a practitioner would come to mind, like myself or someone else, to really help you gain that access and to really help you create that process of primary caretaking. So just wanted to share that as a extremely valuable, important, I think it's the most important work we can do for ourselves. And from there, it really revolutionizes the way we interact and with ourselves and the world and with others in relationship. It creates deeper connection with others in the world. So I hope that that's of any help, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions about this work or this process. Make myself available for that. And just really excited for each of you and where you're at in your healing path, and really want to promote the continuation of that for yourself. So lots of love and thanks for listening.